There are more than 150,000 caregivers in Hawaii, and for many, this is the most challenging role they will ever take on. Most are women over 50 years old, and many drop out of the workforce to care for a loved one, putting their own financial future at risk. As our population grows older, the pool of available caregivers will decline as the demand becomes more critical. Is there anything we can do to avoid a caregiver crisis in Hawaii? This live broadcast of Insights on PBS Hawaii starts now.
Aloha and welcome to Insights on PBS Hawaii. I'm Daryl Huff with Hawaii News Now. More and more we're hearing stories about people who have left the workforce, sometimes even closing their businesses to take care of an elderly family member. Since they receive no compensation for caregiving, this puts them at great financial risk. Families have had to sell assets, including the family home, just to be able to survive. More than 50% of caregivers in Hawaii suffer from extreme stress. And as the population continues to age and the pool of potential caregivers declines, these problems will only become worse. We look forward to your participation in tonight's show. You can email, call, or tweet your questions, and you'll find a live stream of this program at pbshawaii.org. Now to our guests. Senator Rosalind Baker is the chair of the Commerce, Consumer Protection, and Health Committee. She's a co-sponsor of Senate Bill 534, which would assist kupuna caregivers. The program helps these caregivers remain in the workforce. Barbara Kim Stanton has been the Hawaii State Director of the American Association of Retired Persons since 2005. AARP is a membership organization for people age 50 and over, with about 150,000 members in Hawaii and 38 million nationally. AARP advocates and provides information on issues that matter to our kupuna and their families. Steve Mitchell is a retired businessman who was the caregiver for his mother as well as his wife, who suffered from Alzheimer's disease. The stress of caregiving drastically impacted his own health, and eventually the high cost of placing his wife and his mother in care homes created a financial hardship. And Deborah Stonewalls is the executive director of the Maui County Office on Aging and Aging and Disability Resource Center. She has held this position since 2008. Her office ensures that Maui County seniors and individuals with disabilities of all ages, as well as family caregivers, receive a full spectrum of support and assistance. And I want to start off with you, Steve Mitchell. What was it that led to you having to face this very difficult time financially with the caregiving you were giving?
Well, you know, it's a gradual thing, the way it happens. People don't realize how it kind of sneaks up on you. You know, my late wife was very lucid and fine, but her memory was going. And when your partner in your business and your life partner and the person you love and the person that you've depended on for 30 years doesn't remember things, then you really get under stress. And I ballooned to almost 300 pounds, and I might have predeceased her, but she had a stroke, and that was the seminal event that forced me to put her in care, because that required 24/7.
And it was purely a coincidence that your mom got ill and disabled at the same time?
Yeah, they kind of ended up dovetailing into one another. Just as I found a care home for my late wife, then my mom started to require more attention.
And what did that do to you in terms of your ability to maintain your business?
You make a lot of bad decisions when you're under stress like that. You go into debt, you don't look after your own health. And personally, for me, I just wanted to keep the business going as long as I possibly could, because staying at home was not really a pleasant option. So whether the business was doing well or not, I would keep it open. I ended up letting 15 people go. I ended up closing 3 stores. I had 3 cell phone stores on Maui. And that was hundreds of thousands of dollars a year of revenue and tens of thousands of tax revenue.
Barbara Kim Stanton from ARP, when you hear a story like that, what goes through your mind?
I think that Steve is a typical caregiver. I think what you find is that in Hawaii, you have so many caregivers who leave the workforce because they get to a point where they're so conflicted. They're at work and they're totally stressed and they can't do the work, and then they find that they have to leave the workforce. So what you find is that and it's usually women, the the average caregiver in Hawaii is a woman. She's over the age of 55. Most of them are employed, about 77%. And when they leave the workforce, what happens is they jeopardize their own financial future. So on average, the loss would be for a worker leaving the workforce earlier than they had planned to would be about $304,000 a year.
Yeah, we're going to go through
benefits.
a number of those statistics, but one thing I'd like to ask Senator Baker, when your constituents or others come to you asking for help, do you hear stories like this a lot? And do you see this as really an economic challenge for the whole state?
It is an economic challenge for the whole state, and yes, I hear these stories all the time. People that need extra services so that they can keep their loved one at home. They don't want to quit their own job, but they are conflicted. And you hear employers talking about absenteeism. A lot of our workers don't have family leave, paid family leave. Maybe they have a little bit of sick leave, and they're using all of that up. So they're not as productive in the workforce as they might want to be. So we've been trying to figure out, I've been sort of working on this issue since I came back to the Senate in 2003 to figure out how we can help family caregivers stay in the workforce and still make sure that their loved ones can be cared for at home and don't have to go to an institution or some other kind of congregate living.
Deborah Stonewalls from Maui and from the county, what are the most typical challenges you see for caregivers? Is it the workforce challenges, or is it physical challenges? Is it transportation, emotional, or is there any one thing that jumps out?
I think the feelings of grief. I think when we have those conflicting feelings of I really need to work, but I really should be home taking care of my mom or my dad. It's very difficult for caregivers to come to a point of feeling comfortable. I know of one woman who's rather atypical. Her husband has early onset Alzheimer's, and she has an 8-year-old. So her struggles are, how do I save? She has 3 children. How do I save money for college, but take care of my husband, who now needs, she'll come home from work at lunch and find everything from her refrigerator pulled out and put on the cabinets in the kitchen, on the counters. So I don't know that there's really a one answer for that. Every story is so unique, and I guess that's what we see.
Let me ask Steve Mitchell. You're atypical from the statistics that we're hearing is that you're a man. You also were probably pretty well off when this started to happen. Was there any help for you, or as a man, did you have a harder time looking for help, or you just sort of fought this until it just all could have collapsed around your ears? Or
It's a combination of those things. Certainly, I was right in the sweet spot that Barbara mentioned, because I was in my 50s and I was at my high earning time in my life. And a very simple way of putting it would be I would call home and say, I'm going to bring pizza home, honey. And I'd have to leave the pizza in the car, because when I walked into the door, she may have started cooking because she didn't remember that I had made that call.
let me ask this question, though.
I had a lot of dead pizza in my car.
On the financial drain, what were the principal financial drains, and how did they affect you?
Making strong business decisions with the partner require both parties. And when one party is disabled, as my wife was not diagnosed, but disabled for sure, I could not make the moves that I needed to make to grow the business, to make big changes, to do the things that needed to be done.
So the business closed not necessarily because you had a financial competition, but the business itself was getting too hard to run.
No, we were the dominant force on Maui at the time, and my employee base was bigger than AT&T or T-Mobile or Nextel. Or I was a strong business, but you just can't move a ship like that by yourself.
So then, were there costs, though, that were associated with the care that then were a big problem?
Yeah, the SB 534 makes sense because it helps, it will require someone like me to have a caregiver come in and give me some respite. I wouldn't spend money on that. I have money to pay for bills for the business, which, you know, as it slowed down, I was still putting money into it. I had employees to pay. I paid everyone, but I wasn't going to spend money on a caregiver. That just did not make sense in that world.
Let me pick up with, we have some research provided by AARP, and many of these graphics are based on Hawaii data. The typical caregiver, as we've mentioned, is taking care of someone 80 years or older. Caregivers are usually women over 50, and 42% of caregivers are employed. Caregiving does take its toll. Caregivers say they're stressed, they're trying to balance a job and caregiving. They've had health problems themselves and financial challenges. For every 5 people who leave the workforce early, 1 did so to care for a spouse or other family member. And statistics suggest that a woman who leaves the workforce early to care for parents is at a considerable risk of living in poverty during her old age. Senator Baker, you talked earlier about the cycle. Describe the cycle that we're talking about. It sounds like the statistic goes right to that.
It does, because you have a woman in the workforce helping to pay for the expenses, put things away for college, put things away for her own retirement. She has to, because we feel a family obligation to take care of our seniors, our elders, our parents, our loved ones. And so that person then needs to start not attending so much, maybe goes from a full-time job to a part-time job. You don't earn as much for retirement if you're doing part-time. Then maybe you have to leave the workforce altogether. So you're not going to be in a good financial shape when you get to be 65 and may need someone to take care of you as well.
Let me, Deborah Stonewalls from Maui, your agency, what are you mentioned loneliness, grief were major problems, but in terms of service demand, what are the main services that the families you deal with need?
Most often, for caregiver services that we provide, we provide adult daycare and in-home respite. We can also do things like increase the amount of homemaker services a family might get, in-home personal care, which is bathing and hygiene. Those types of things also help caregivers, because maybe while mom is getting some of her needs met, the caregiver has a little time.
And do you have enough resources to serve everybody who needs it on Maui, or
No.
is who's it limited to?
Well, here's the deal with the money piece. The reason I'm really supportive of the SB 534 is because our funding comes from 3 sources in Maui. We get federal money, state money, county money. Our federal money, and this is the way it is for every area agency on aging across the nation, we are limited to spending only 10% of our federal money towards family caregivers. So in Maui, we get approximately $750,000. So we have $75,000 we can spend on caregivers.
When you say spend on caregivers, what does that mean?
That means like provide services such as in-home respite or adult daycare days.
So it's basically to give the caregiver a break. You call
Yes.
that supporting the caregivers.
Yes.
Barbara Kim-Stenton from AARP, how far are we from being able to meet the needs of most families or many families? Do most families, are they just going to be doomed to struggle with this without help?
I think the majority of people, the vast majority, yes. The answer is yes, because it's expensive. You talk about just having a home health aide, and you're talking about $57,000 a year. And when you look at the amount of savings people have, they just don't have that money. So you're looking at a huge financial amount of money that they have to expend. So the average person has something like $2,500 in savings, all ages. A person near retirement has $14,500. So when you're talking $57,000, and you probably need that kind of service for about 3 years, that's just unaffordable.
Senator Baker, how do you folks prioritize that kind of question? I mean, how do you choose which groups could get government support and which ones can't?
Well, actually, the Kapuna Caregiver bill, the Senate bill we've been talking about, is designed for that gap group, For the folks that the caregiver wants to stay in the workforce, they need some respite, they need another day at adult day care, or they need some additional transportation to get to some other services. And so it's really designed to help keep them in the workforce. It will allow us to build up more resources in the community that can then provide these services, because we're short of services. We're short of people to provide services. So we've got to provide that career ladder so that we can get people going into the helping service that we need.
So Deborah, let me ask you this question. Which group is there any group, let's say the people who are eligible for Medicaid, that are getting appropriate services, or as Senator Baker described, a gap group? Is it sort of that gap group, the middle class, that are the ones that are going without now?
Well, we would hope that the people that are enrolled in Medicaid are getting the services they need. So all of the services that the area agencies on aging and ADRCs provide are for that group that is not poor enough for Medicaid, but not rich enough to be able to afford $57,000 a year. So we have a rather large gap group. It's the low to middle income folks. And I would say that by and large, family caregivers they're doing, I think the statistic is 80% of all care.
Let me ask Steve Mitchell, now that you've been through this process, I imagine you've been in contact with other caregivers who are in your sounds like you're in the sweet spot of that middle class. What's it like, financially, when you face these kinds of things? I mean, what's it like to put a family member in a care home and deal with the financial issue? Well, if I spend this much, I get this. If I spend this much, I get this. I mean, do you have to go through that process?
You don't care. You don't care. You're just trying to do the best you can for your loved ones. So you take on unconscionable amounts of debt. Tomorrow is really about waking up tomorrow and hoping the door is locked when you go to the bathroom so that they don't leave. I mean, it's that simple. So you're really looking at day-to-day survival. You're not thinking about, well, how am I going to pay my taxes? That's not the first thing you're thinking about.
How did you manage to pay?
I didn't. I put tax paying off. I put a lot of things off until I could, and then I did. But what Barbara says is spot on. $5,000 a month for a care home is $60,000 a year. Where does that come from?
Right. It's actually more. For a nursing home, you're talking about $141,000 if you have a private room. And then you normally need to stay about 3 years. Now, who has that kind of money?
Right. In 3 years?
In 3 years. And I totally agree with Steve. What happens is when you're in that situation, your thoughts of budgeting and not spending just goes out the window. It's pure emotion that drives you.
Let me honor our viewers. A good question from a viewer right now. What classes or support are available for caregivers from DOH, AARP, or Office of Aging to help prepare for financial or home services hardships? Basically, where is a good starting point for caregivers? Let me start with you, Deborah Stone-Walls.
Well, most of the AAAs have caregiver education.
AAA is
area agencies on aging.
Which is in every county.
Yes,
okay.
Yes. We don't do tires or batteries.
Cell phones,
but we each carry a contract with provider agencies for caregiver education and support. We have an evidence-based caregiver program called Powerful Tools for Caregivers. So if folks call their local, on their island, their area agency on aging, those folks can point them in the specific direction for their island or their county so that they can receive.
We talked about how you don't have enough to serve that group. Is it like first come, first served? So the people who get it at the beginning of the month are going to get services, the ones at the end are going to be too late?
Well, in Maui County, we target our resources to those most economically needy. So we kind of do a sliding scale, if you will. We look at income and assets, and we're charged by the Older Americans Act to be sure that our public resources go to those folks who are most economically needy.
Okay. Senator Baker, when we talk about Medicaid came up, and I know you know quite a bit about this in your role in the Senate and how much you've looked at Medicaid as one of the programs I think was under your jurisdiction. Is Medicaid, there's these programs that tell people how to qualify for Medicaid. You see them advertised and so on. Is that something people should look into, how to do their planning so they can be ready for the financial burden that comes up?
No, I don't think that's a good idea. Because really then what you're doing is you're shifting resources away from folks that really need it because they're trying to preserve an asset for a son or daughter or something else. What we really need to be doing is figuring out how we can help more people by keeping people healthier longer, keeping people in their homes. And it's really this whole cycle of healthy aging. And that's one of the things that the Area Office on Aging's do. They provide programs to help seniors before they get to be seniors, know how to take care of their health, how to eat right, how to exercise. And so trying to make sure that we're dealing with the folks that are not going to be on government assistance, not going to be in a care home, not going to be in an institution. How can we help them stay in their homes longer, live healthier and happier lives?
Let me ask Barbara Kim-Stanton, though, is it a reality, though, in this community with the costs that you mentioned of what a nursing home costs or anything else, that there is a sort of scramble to qualify yourself for Medicaid? Don't people do that all the time?
They try to, and I totally agree with Senator Baker that what you're trying to do with the Senate bill 534 is to keep people from falling, to have a safety net, because you lose choices when you're in Medicaid. The thing is, you really do lose a lot of choices. And when some people think, oh, well, when the time comes, I'll just divest of my assets, wrong thing to do, not just from a moral point of view for the public who you serve, but also because you would have to qualify for Medicaid 5 years prior to the time, because there's what they call look-back period of 5 years. So some people think, I won't worry about it, I'll just get rid of my assets, give it to the kids or whatever. And then they find they can't qualify because they haven't been at that low income rate for 5 years. Totally erroneous. That, and the other big mistake people make is that they think Medicare will pay for long-term care.
It doesn't.
And it doesn't. So everybody is so surprised that there are so few options. That's why when you're talking about having a safety net so that you can keep your earning potential up. It usually happens, as Steve said, you're in your prime and you're high earning, and you find women are leaving the workforce, they're turning down promotions, they decide to downshift, work part-time at a time where they really could be earning money for a secure future.
I'm really glad that you brought us back to the actual original topic. I think I let us digress a bit, but I think it's all related. The ability of a person to have the resources, if they don't have the resources, then it will fall to the caregiver. A question from Lisa and Mililani: does the state have any programs for short or long-term care to help subsidize support from caregivers? Deborah?
Well, I think that would be what we're trying to do here.
So that doesn't exist now?
The Kapuna Care in some ways does. And our federal Title III dollars are, that's the caregiver dollars. They're little. But this bill would actually be an answer for all of the area agencies on aging by providing a much more realistic level of assistance to family caregivers.
It really is trying to support family caregivers so that they can both continue as a caregiver but also stay in the workforce. And it also, by having a revenue stream to provide for additional services, it also is job creation. It creates more opportunities for people that may want to start a small business to provide caregiving services, or they may want to start out and be a certain certified nurse aide and then move up the ladder in the healthcare to another kind of activity.
You know, let me go to some more of the statistics that have been provided by AARP, and then we'll get to some more viewer questions. There are approximately 154,000 caregivers in Hawaii. They provide 144 million hours of caregiving a year. Again, this is according to AARP, and that it has a value to the economy of about $2.1 billion. As our population grows older, the pool of available caregivers shrinks as the demand among those 80 or others steadily rises. And then people who leave the workforce early to care for a parent or family members, as Barbara mentioned earlier, lose an average of $304,000 in salary and benefits over a lifetime. And finally, nationally, businesses lose up to $33.6 billion annually in lost time and diminished productivity among employees who are caregivers. Let me just ask Steve, when you look at your life and what's happened, do you feel like your contribution to the economy just got robbed from you?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not only in my business, but I was managing another business for someone when my late wife got a stroke. And what happens is you're in the hospital, and 4 days after the stroke, they say, well, she's going home tomorrow. How are you going to take care of her? Mm-hmm. And you can ask all the questions you want, but you don't see that freight train that's going to take you out because you're asking all the wrong questions, you know. And quite honestly, when you're in the hospital, you can see them looking at you like, ask me a question like, should I take an Alzheimer's test now, or should they're not going to guide you when you're in the hospital.
But do you think that ultimately you were just sort of yanked out of the economy? You were generating jobs and managing businesses. So
yeah, I mean, I could always make money, and that money flowed to my employees, and that stopped.
Okay, Senator Baker, we did get a question from a viewer, which I was going to get to this eventually, but thanks, viewer. Mary in Maui, another Maui person. The panel keeps referring to SB 534. Please describe what this is, Senator.
Senate Bill 534 is called the Kapuna Caregiver Act. And what it will do is it will support the family caregiver who is caring for a loved one who can qualify for kapuna care. This is to complement kapuna care, so that if they get, let's say they receive 2 days of services at adult daycare, maybe what they need is 2 more. And so they would get 4. So then the family caregiver would be able to stay in their job without worrying about where mom or dad were for those 4 days. And so they can continue to be productive citizens. So it's trying to provide the supports that will help keep caregivers gainfully employed so that they can work for their own retirement, they can have some peace of mind, be contributing to the economy, paying their taxes, paying their Social Security, all of the things that are going to come back to them when they need to retire.
Is there a dollar figure associated with it?
The modeling that we've done looks at about $70 a day. And while people say, well, that's not going to cover everything. No, but the calculations that have been done, and we've used some of the great economic minds at the University of Hawaii and other places who are looking at this, say that that would actually help, because you could cobble together from savings and other things the match to that would provide those services. So we're really trying to be that gap group program.
So are you making the argument that the money that's generated by tax revenue or economic activity, by the fact that people will be able to be in the workforce, will actually pay for the program?
In some ways, that's true.
But is there a dollar figure? So like how many days are you hoping to be able to provide for people across the state, for example?
Well, we're hoping that we're going to be able to provide the necessary services to help people stay in the workforce. We know that when we start, there's going to be some startup costs, and we're not going to be able to ramp up right away. But we're looking at trying to put about $6 million a year into this program to help with keeping people employed in the workforce in helping people stay home and out of nursing homes.
And last question on this, does it, that's in addition to the existing Kapuna Care
That's right.
program, which is how big now?
Deborah, help me out there.
9 million is
I
what
think-
we're asking in
Yes.
the state
current
budget.
budget.
Last year it was 7.8.
So this is a significant addition to the
It is.
Kapuna Care
It
services.
is. But the problem is getting larger. It's not getting smaller. People are, we love Hawaii. We're living longer here, and we're hoping to see more and more healthy aging. That just means we're going to be living longer. And so we're going to need these supports because people can't afford the long-term care facilities, the institutions. It's just too expensive, and we don't have enough rooms even if people could afford it.
That goes to the next question. I think that, Barbara, you may have mentioned that there aren't enough people in the helping field, or there could be more people in the helping field. We've got two questions along those lines. Don from IA asks, if a credentialed person wants to become a caregiver on Oahu, what must he or she do? Who do they call? And another caller, please expand on the home health aid costing $57,000 per year. Is that for 40 hours of services a week or 24/7 coverage? Talk more about the kind of people that might be put to work under this legislation.
Well, we have a shortage of the necessary workforce across the state. And so one of the things that you're looking at is to have a professional group of healthcare workers, you have to have a group that's actually going to use their services. And so it helps build that workforce infrastructure. And so when you're talking about recognizing that this is a profession. And so to the person who said, well, what about being certified? The bill that we're talking about would be money that goes directly to a professional provider. And so as you have money going to people who are in the business of doing caregiving, you're building that infrastructure of workforce. So that's one important point. The other point, or the other question that came up was
$57,000.
the 57, that's for a 44-hour week. And when somebody's working, you're going to have, and they're working a 40-hour week, the caregiver has to come in a little earlier and stay a little later until the person actually gets home. And so that's why it's 44 hours.
But does it mean that for $57,000, a family could hire a caregiver for their house? Are there enough people to do that? I mean, it sounds a lot cheaper than a nursing home.
It is a lot cheaper than a nursing home, but then I do want to say that you get to a point where you may need certain services that there's an efficiency and economic point that it's easier to do it in a nursing home. But before that, you'll find everybody wants to age in place. And so it is cheaper. So if you can stay at home and you could have maybe some of the family members help at night, then you have somebody in the day. And so what you're doing for the working caregiver who takes over in the evening, so that's not great either, but it's better than doing it 24/7. And it's better because they're not robbing their own financial future because they pulled out of the workforce like Steve, and then when they try to go back in, they find that they're going into a really low entry level, or they've given up all kinds of opportunities. So there's a lot of things that work, both for the person getting the care, the caregiver, help for the caregiver, and also building what I think is necessary, that infrastructure of workers that we need.
Let me ask Steve, Mitchell, when you were going through your process, what do you think you would have needed to actually enable you to maintain what you were doing? It sounds like the business had a little more to do with your partner's disability problems, but what could a program like this have done for you that might have been able to keep you in the workforce?
I'm guessing that if I had been able to get some respite, and I just think about 1 day a week as being wonderful, but if I could get 1 or 2 days of blocks of time where I could just have a clear head, then I could have probably stayed in business for another year or two and provided jobs for those 15 people and the revenue stream and the tax stream for, for that much longer. And, that I could see that happening.
Deborah Stonewall, so is it usually the case that what a family needs might be a lot less than an outsider might think? They just need a couple days here or there, and that helps them sustain the energy they need to really care for their own family member?
Yeah, that's true. And especially if they call early. Because if folks call us before they're in a really big crisis, we can help avoid such a crisis. So the earlier we get folks engaged in accepting help, the better off their course is going to be, because we can help sustain rather than try to help them recover, if that makes sense.
Before it gets to be crisis management.
Yes.
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 And there's a really important thing that people may not realize, but sometimes the caregiver goes before the person they're taking care of because of the stress.
Yeah.
And that's not that unusual. We've heard a lot of stories about that, where the stress was so great that it was the caregiver who went first.
In spousal caregiving, that national statistic is 9 out of 10 caregivers pass away prior to the spouse for whom they're caring.
Striking.
Saw that coming.
It's very difficult.
Right on that
It's
point,
hard.
Lon from Why and I asked, does Bill 534, and I think that just to avoid confusion, Bill 534 is an expansion of an existing program called Kupuna Care, right?
Kupuna Care has been on the books for a number of years. It's very, very successful. This is a complement to Kupuna Care. That's why we're calling it Kupuna Caregivers.
Okay, and so it says, does Bill 534, I'm going to reinterpret that, does Kupuna Care cover someone who is caring for a disabled spouse? And I know that it does, but are there differences? And there's all different kinds of disabilities and all different situations for caregiving. Deborah?
So basically, the eligibility requirement would be that the spouse or the caregiver would be over 60 or over. That's the basic.
So it is specific generally to older people.
Yes. Now, some of our caregiver services that
I just
happen.
reached the threshold myself.
Yeah. Hey, never thought you'd be so happy to be 60. But some of our caregiver services don't have anything to do with age. But this particular bill would be, because we're following the Kupuna Care guidelines, would be designed for either spouses or individuals with disabilities who are 60 or over.
You know, how big a gap is that, though? Are there lots of caregivers out there, I don't know who could go for this, that are dealing with where the family is not that older?
Yes.
And
We
there's-
get calls frequently. We're hearing of more and more folks that have strokes earlier in life, that have heart attacks earlier in life. That's why, as Senator Baker mentioned, one of our big emphasis is healthy aging and exercise. So we do that for caregivers as well. We have a 3-time-a-week exercise class to help folks regain some of that physical health.
You know, I got a caller who's asking a question that I think is legit. Where does the state get all this extra money? Will there be a new organization to make sure that there is no fraud in who gets the funds? And Senator Baker, let me ask you that. I know the answer is often, well, this will actually make money because people will be paying their taxes and so on. But, I mean, how do you fight for these resources in a legislature where money is always short?
Well, there is no extra money. It's all about priorities. And I think what we're seeing is people are starting to recognize that we are coming up to a crisis, and it's time that we made some of those priorities with helping caregivers stay in the workforce and helping them succeed. Because it creates new jobs, it does create additional revenue. And, you know, I have never seen Kupuna Care be assessed with any kind of fraud. The services are designed to help people, but they're not excessive. We're not paying families in particular. It's going to the the providers of care. So I think that's one thing. We have a very well-established system of assessment, so we know that the folks that are getting the services are eligible. We know that their kupuna have met the two activities, missing the two activities of daily living, so there is a need for that.
I'm a little familiar with this process. There's actually kind of an extensive interview process, and
Yes,
sometimes
yes.
there's more than one person that comes in to evaluate the situation, right?
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes.
That is true.
I've got two questions from people who are asking very specific questions about how to get help. Caller is taking care of an elderly disabled brother, where on Maui can help be found for physical assistance and chores around the home. And will Medicare pay for this? Let's start with that one. And there's also a question about, is there a booklet available?
Okay, so Medicare will not pay for that. That's the easy answer. On Maui, across the state actually, if your cell phone is based on your island, if you dial 643 ADRC, I believe that's 2372.
Yep. That's right.
That's a
you will
statewide
be-
number?
That's
Yes.
a statewide number.
Repeat it for
You-
me again. We got that number.
643-2372. It's ADRC. And you would be connected to your local area agency on aging through that number. We can help, we can offer solutions and problem solve with you, because sometimes people just don't know what the options are.
And you'll talk to people even if they may not qualify for the program?
Absolutely,
Do you
absolutely.
have enough people to do that?
Yes, we do. We are very fortunate.
You better be staffed tomorrow morning.
We are staff. We also have a website that is available. If folks go to www.hawaii.adrc.
What we'll do, and I bet you if they go to AARP's website, they'll find those resources too, right?
They will.
Okay, so we're going to go back
Okay.
at the end. If anybody needs to go get a pencil at home,
Okay.
we'll make sure
Okay.
that we repeat these contact information before the end of the show.
But you can Google
Yes.
ADRC Maui or ADRC Oahu
And get to the
get it to
And
it
you
as
get,
well.
yeah, because ADRC was set up to be a one-stop shop.
Right.
So the person calling in saying, where are the resources, ADRC will help them out. But there are also things like, for those who don't get on the computer, there are printed booklets, directories. And if they, and there are also a number of caregiving workshops. I mean, ARP is having one March 25th.
We're going to repeat
Yeah.
that at the end of the show. Let me ask Steve, when you started into this process, I bet you did a lot of Googling. Did you go on the internet a lot trying, how am I going to deal with this? I'm curious about that.
When this first started, this was about 10 years ago.
That was
So,
quite a-
so what Google was not quite, we did not quite have the resources at our
amazing,
fingertips.
isn't it?
Did you really struggle to find help? and
Yes,
resources?
it was hard. A lot of these programs have come about since, but it was, the social workers that come out from the hospital and also from the state, they try to help you to guide you to the resources. But if you're working and you're taking care of someone, it goes in a folder, and good luck getting to it. In preparation for this show, I Googled long-term care. What are good questions? Because I didn't know what we were going to talk about. And I saw tons of long-term care insurance ads at like 3 pages worth. This is not an easy. It's not an easy place to get information on this subject.
That's a good point. If you Google, because if you Google 2 or 3 times, you just get inundated with advertising.
Yes.
Right, and yes, and so just to follow up with that, having a one-stop shop like Deborah has, that would make a big difference to me if I was back in that situation.
This is a personal question to you, Steve, from a caller. Since you did have financial backing, why didn't you put your wife in a facility sooner? It may have helped you in the workforce. Is there a process where you're evaluating that I don't want to put my wife in a facility, but if I don't put her in a facility, I'm going to be out of work?
That's a good question. Up until the moment of her stroke, she was as lucid and as formidable a person as is sitting at this table. So just because she couldn't remember 5 minutes to the next doesn't mean you could tell her what to do or how to do it or where she's going to live or what she's going to eat. And you know, she was really a nice person, so she wasn't naturally cantankerous, but she was 5 minutes to the next, she was normal.
So it was basically a sudden thing.
It was very sudden. The stroke, although I was stressed all the time, she wasn't.
Well, that's a blessing. Caller is a caregiver for a special needs child, and we talked a little bit about these categories. Does bill cover dependents? How can a single mom get additional assistance so she can get to work? What happens when a child turns 18? What additional support is available? That's a real cry for help. And Senator Baker, would you be able to help with that in terms of if it's not Kapuna Care or an area office on aging, where do people go? Does anybody know?
Well, I think Deborah probably does better than I do.
We do have a new initiative in Hawaii that's building on the ADRC, which is No Wrong Door. And we are one of 5 states in America that got an implementation grant. So we are in the process of building connections, simplifying the intake process that's actually being piloted right now on Kauai. So we are working towards making this process a lot more humane for family members who are struggling and investing their all in helping their loved one. We want to try to make this whole process as simple and clear and effective as possible. So the No Wrong Door, it's coming to a
Would it
town
be if
near
someone like that called one of your area offices on aging, do you think you could at least get them going to the right place?
Yes.
Okay.
We work with them. We try to understand what their particular need is, and we try to get them connected. On my staff, when I staffed our ADRC, I tried to bring in folks from various disciplines. So I have an individual that worked in the Department of Education with special needs children. She also worked in the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Division. I have an individual that worked with developmental
I guess, yeah, a lot of the
disabilities
people who are involved in the social services have had contacts with a lot of different places.
Yes.
Let me ask Senator Baker, this is an interesting question from Kona. Has Hawaii looked at any other states for model programs? What has worked elsewhere so we're not reinventing the wheel? My understanding is an awful lot of this is driven by the way the federal government has organized things, hasn't it?
It is. I mean, we have our buckets. You have your Department of Human Service bucket, you have your Department of Health bucket, you have the Medicaid bucket, the Medicare bucket, and some of the others.
It's a funny kind of bucket list.
Yes,
yeah.
It is a different kind of bucket list. But oddly enough, there are not a lot of places that are trying to solve the issues that we're trying to solve here in Hawaii, and we're actually being looked at as a model for other places, particularly when we were looking to provide a surcharge on the GET to pay for it so that you had a much more robust program. We're going to be paying for this out of the general fund. But nevertheless, to focus in on family caregivers and to focus in on how we can use this as a way to do workforce development and to expand services is really not being done as well, I think, as we're doing it here in Hawaii, particularly with our reliance on the ADRCs and having that one-stop shop. It helps to be small in some instances.
Because people could at least talk to each other.
Yes.
I know Maui in particular is very well organized in the nonprofit sector, right?
Yes.
So you folks are, whereas Honolulu is a lot more.
Well, Honolulu's
chaotic.
bigger, but you know, Honolulu is, I think, starting to ramp up and really looking at how they can bring all of the nonprofits into bear on these issues that we face, and so you don't have those fragmented services. I mean, that's really what we're looking at. The No Wrong Door initiative with special needs and children is also happening in the adult world as well.
You know, another caller, this is provoking a lot of people who are coming up with issues that I hadn't thought of. You know, Marilyn from Manoa comments, food is also costly. And supermarkets sell unhealthy food cheaper than healthy food. Perhaps supermarkets can make it more affordable to buy healthy food. Is just plain getting people food a big issue, Barbara, in this state?
it's not getting food, it's paying for the food, because food is expensive in Hawaii. And if you want people to eat healthy food, you know, it's going to cost a little bit more.
Are there services around food support? I know the food bank and
Well, there's also food stamps. They call them something different now. I'm showing my age, but it'll and we've allowed those benefits to be used at farmers markets, and it is for healthier food. So I think looking at how we're providing food in school lunch to seniors and others, we're really making that attempt to help them get healthy food by using some of the government services that are available.
I've got a couple of questions. I want to kind of start moving along. We've got about 3 or 4 minutes left. Can't private businesses provide this service more efficiently and less expensively than a government program? I think I know the answer, Senator Baker. It's actually, these are private businesses that are being hired by the government.
That's right. And so it's not state employees or county employees that are providing the services. It's people that are out in the community, and that's their job.
And I just want to bring up something that people have to realize is that we're facing the perfect storm, because while because of the the high longevity we have in Hawaii, we have the number of people, seniors, going up. We have the number of caregivers going down, and so back in 2010, maybe we had a little bit more than 6 caregivers for every 80-year-old that you're taking care of, and then by 2030, it's cut in half, where you're going to have 3 caregivers for 1 person, and then by 2050, 2. So the fact is, even though you may want a family caregiver to take care of you, they're not going to be around. So who is going to substitute for the family caregiver? We need to provide that care somehow.
We've got 2 questions right on that point. One, Jennifer from the Big Island asked, what's the state doing? Of course, everyone assumes it's the state doing to educate people in becoming certified caregivers on the neighboring islands. Is there particularly a shortage on the neighboring islands on this case, or is it just a statewide shortage?
Statewide shortage. Statewide.
Is there an assumption that if we put, what was the number, 4 million, 6 million? If we put $6 billion into this, that they will come, if the money is there to pay them, that they will come to the industry, or does there need to be a separate system of support to grow that part of the workers in that area?
We have lots of great programs at our community colleges and even in health academies at our school. So people are interested in going into healthcare services, but the only way that you're going to be able to actually provide that career ladder and that path is if you have resources that are dedicated for people that want to do the caregiving. You're not going to get people going into that business if there's no money to provide those salaries.
Steve, did you ever have issues with the quality of the people that were helping you?
I was very lucky that when I did find a care home for my wife and my mom, they both were in the same care home at the same time. Do the math on that one. A wonderful family took care of them, and they thrived in an adult residential care home setting. But they both needed 24/7 care, something I couldn't do.
Last question, and this one to Deborah Stone Walls. Callers concerned with the quality and cost of private sector caregiving industry. We have one caller says, should the businesses be doing it? And someone else saying the businesses don't do this well. One has to go through an agency that charges a lot more than a caregiver is paid. Caller experienced very spotty standard when she was a caregiver. Do we have an issue with quality, and how does your agency make sure that people are getting quality care out of these services?
Well, all of the area agencies on aging issue requests for proposals. So we determine what we want. And whereas in the private sector, the same agencies might require a 2 to 4 hour minimum, because we're purchasing, if you will, at bulk, we can get them down to a 1 hour. That's a part of our contract. So we're able to negotiate on behalf of the caregivers, and we engage in quality control. So we are very strict with monitoring. We have an incredible database system. We do desktop, we do site visits. We take that very seriously to make sure that I'm a taxpayer. I want my money going towards only quality things.
Okay, we got 1 minute left, and I promised
So-
that I would let you guys repeat your contact information. So, Deborah Stonewalls, now you're talking about Maui, but you're saying this is a statewide number of people could call,
Yes.
right? And repeat it one more time.
643-2372 or ADRC.
What was the first three numbers again?
643.
ADRC.
Yes.
Kind of rhymes.
Yes.
And there's also a website.
Yes. Hawaii.adrc.
And Barbara Kim Stanton, AARP resources.
They
contact.
should go to aarp.org/HI because, and then they can just type in whatever subject they want, and ARP has a lot of information, and we'll have a lot of conferences on caregiving.
In fact, on that point, I'm going to remind our viewers that before we close, I want to mention that AARP Hawaii is hosting a caregiver conference on Saturday, March 25th. There will be sessions on planning, long-term care, and life insurance, reverse mortgages, Medicaid, and other government programs. There will also be tips for improving quality of life at home. Again, that will be held on Saturday, March 25th from 8 a.m. until noon at the Japanese Cultural Center. Contact information is posted on the screen right there and on our website. We want to thank all of you guys for joining us tonight. Senator Baker, Steve Mitchell, Barbara Kim Stanton, and Deborah Stonewalls from the Office on Aging on Maui. Thank you for being here. And until next time, I'm Daryl Huff for Insights. Ahui ho.